But something that I really do not like is that people try to outsmart me. I went into the little corner shop here, the neighborhood shop, and I wanted to buy a pineapple to make juice or whatever. And the guy said, yeah, 9,000. I was like, 9,000? That's way too expensive for a pineapple. He's like, well, those are the prices. Like, take it or leave it. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'll come back later. So I went into the supermarket and it was 2,700. So it was three times cheaper in a supermarket. So I love the supermarkets because you get to you can pay cash or card, credit card, and they don't make a big deal out of it. But in the little shops, people prefer to get cash and everything. So that's why I prefer to only go to big supermarkets. And my Colombian friends judge me for it. They're like, you should support your neighborhood shops. And I'm like, but they're trying to steal. And if I start buying the 9,000 pesos, which is like almost 2.5 US dollars, I don't know in Canadian, maybe it's like four.
Yeah, the Canadian dollar is pretty low right now. It's about 40% less.
Oh, wow. Okay. But yeah, so doesn't matter. It's more expensive. It's three times more, right? So if I'm willing to pay three times the price, then I'm gentrifying my town.
Mm.
Because then people are going to say, oh, everything's expensive because of all these foreigners. But if I say no,
Ah.
I'm going to go to the other shop and, buy three pineapples for the same price, they call me a cheapskate. So, I mean, like, which is it?
Mm.
So I'm either cheap and not supporting my local shops, or I'm gentrifying my neighborhood. So sometimes you just can't win sometimes.
That's very interesting. That's a different perspective because, yeah, there is an idea of like if you're from, especially if you're earning your money from a different country, like if you're earning American dollars or euros or something like that, there is an idea that's like you shouldn't really haggle with people on the street in a developing country. I mean, you have the money, just pay them. And so, why are you trying to take advantage when you have the money? But the flip side of that is if a lot of foreigners do that, it will raise the local prices for everybody, like we see in
Yeah.
housing, right? So that is a interesting kind of dichotomy between those two things. Um,
Yeah, and if you go on TikTok and Instagram, everything, you'll see some videos of foreigners, especially in Medellin, and all the comments are like, "Gringos, go home. We don't need no gringos here. Let's we don't need gringo tourism." And I'm reading those things. I saw a video that was published yesterday by the DW channel. They do documentaries, and it was about Colombia and gentrification. And I was fighting for my life with people in the comment section because they were like, "Yeah, we have to take back our land and housing is expensive." And I'm like, "I bought my apartment and not that I came from Europe with a big bag of money and here I'm buying houses left and right, but the house price goes up because the 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 companies, the construction companies, they sell it in minimum wages. So my apartment is 135 minimum salaries. So if every year the salary goes up, the pricing goes up of the house. So a few years ago, it used to be 135 million Colombian pesos. Now it's 200 million. So it's almost double in like 5 years. And it's not my fault. It's how construction companies run and how the government sets up rules. So I was fighting for my life in the comments. Yeah, but sometimes people, they just want to complain about stuff and not really think about things.
I mean, like the price of housing, I think does tend to go up in any country, right? Like
Yeah.
it will continue to appreciate houses normally, and that might follow wages, like you're saying. Like, what's the average wage in this country or this city, and that's going to follow it, right? Because when you have more money, people want more money from you.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it kind of feeds into itself for sure. The cost of living can also be connected with that, right? The minimum wage goes up, and then in order for the businesses to pay their employees the new increased minimum wage, they increase the prices of their products. Like that can feed into itself as well. But there also is the reality that if you come from another country, people can take advantage and say, well, if you have 10 times the money of a local person, regardless of what your wage is, I'm just going to charge you more. And then
Exactly.
that can increase the average price. So can both of those things not be true at the same time?
I think, yeah, I think you're definitely right. Like things go hand in hand, but also, there's so many people who trying to be smart asses. They're like, oh, haha, there's a gringo. I'm gonna charge him triple the amount. But then if it's a gringo like me who lives here and because what I earn with social media and everything, it's more than a Colombian minimum wage, but it's less than a minimum wage in Europe, in the Netherlands. Like, if I were to move now to the Netherlands, with what I'm earning, it's not enough to pay the rent and buy food. Like I won't be
Yeah.
able to survive. But here I can survive with that. And people don't know, but I'm not gonna go into every shop and explain like, oh sir, charge me the Colombian price because I live here, I work here. It doesn't make sense. So sometimes I'm really thinking about like just wearing a Halloween mask when I go out so people cannot overcharge me.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of a specialty case. You're kind of an exception to the rule, right? I think a lot of people, especially in Medellin, are making a significant amount of money when they arrive. And it is true that the housing prices, especially in Medellin, have gone
Yeah,
up because of that, right? I think that's
definitely.
undeniable. And so and people do get hurt from that. Local people that just can't afford to live there anymore, even
Yeah.
though they're from there. I mean, that's a real issue as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been there. I actually did a video on that maybe 2 years ago with a friend who actually lives in Medellin, and we went to restaurants and we went to places, and it's you see all these digital nomads everywhere, left and right. They're everywhere, and of course, like if you are a restaurant owner or if you are a landlord, you think, hey, you see dollar signs in your eyes, like in the cartoons, and you're like, I can charge them more, and they're willing to pay for that. So why would I rent or sell food to a Colombian for less when I can charge more? And I think that is also part of the problem. Like, Mexico has a huge problem with gentrification, but I think, it's not just the foreigners coming and having more disposable income. It's also locals who are trying to, take advantage of that. And yeah, I don't know, it's just a weird world, but should we just build a wall and not let anyone in? I don't know.
Yeah, like that's also problematic, of course. What about putting like a cap on rental prices? Do you think that would solve it? If people couldn't charge above a certain amount?
I think that would be a good idea, but people would be started saying that that's socialism and communism and that's not the free market, the government shouldn't decide how much I should. Yeah, so but so I don't know if that's gonna work, at least in Colombia. But we do have a cap on utility bills.
Mm,
Well, it's
okay.
not really a cap. But it's, you have um I think in English they're called income levels. So there's six income levels, estratos in Spanish. So you've got one, which is the lowest, and six, which is the highest. That's like where all the millionaires live. And for example, my neighborhood, when I bought the apartment, it was three. So it's like middle income. And they raised it to four because they built some parks around. There's a bike lane or a bike path going here. So we've got some parks. So they increased it to four. So now all of our bills are more expensive. And when you live in a lower level, you get a discount because people who live in a higher level pay more to support people in a lower level. So, and everyone is fine with that. But I haven't seen any other country where that happens. Like, oh, you're from that neighborhood? Oh, yeah, you're poor. Oh, you live in that neighborhood? Oh, yeah, you can afford more money. Because across the street from me, it's level three. So we're here. Like, there's just a street separating us, but we pay more for the utilities than them.
I mean, the idea is it seems pretty interesting to do that. I mean, it's like people paying what they're able to pay. Now they are
Yeah.
making generalizations based on the neighborhood that you live in. Like if you live in this neighborhood, that automatically means you're earning more money, which may or may not be true. It depends, right? But that
Yeah.
makes kind of makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with all of the rental laws that we have here in British Columbia, the province that I live in, but I'm pretty sure I read something. It's expensive. BC is one of the most expensive provinces to live in, but I read somewhere that every year there's a maximum percentage that landlords can raise the rent. So like
Okay.
you can raise it every year if you want, but you can't raise the rent 50% next year. It has to be like,
Right.
I don't know, 5% or something like that.
Yeah, we
So then it
have that
prevents people
too.
from overcharging you basically.
Yeah, you're so right. That's so cool you have that. But here we've got that too. There's you've got the inflation rate, you've got the minimum wage that goes up, and then you've got this percentage, this number as well. So and usually like health insurance, things like that go up with that percentage, and they cannot go up more. But if you're renting an apartment out to someone, and the contract ends, and then the next people move in, then you can raise it.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. It only works if you don't leave your apartment. Then
Yeah.
you can afford to stay in your one apartment. But then if you want to get a different one, suddenly they start from zero again, right? And they can charge you
Yep.
whatever they want to charge you, which is probably what's happening in Medellin.
Probably, yes, yes. And also, I think landlords, they just don't want to renew contracts. Maybe they tell people lies. They're like, oh, we're going to sell the apartment. So unless you want to
Right.
buy it, oh, you can buy it? Okay. And then they're just rent it to someone with a higher income.